Welcome back to Rocket Talk. This is now episode 14. As always, I am joined by Connor and Johnny, and today we are going to move into some nerd news now with our first topic was the Xbox Series X gameplay reveal we had this previous week. For a more in-depth look at this, tune into our first Rocket Talk mini episode that is up on our YouTube and on your podcast streaming devices, where we go more in-depth on all of the games that were announced, including Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Second Extinction, and our thoughts on all of them. For this, we'll just quickly kind of go over it. What were you guys' overall thoughts on it, and then your favorite game?
For me personally, I love Call of the Sea. I thought that was really, I really appreciated the art style. It was a little bit more cartoony, which I'm definitely more. I'm used to that a lot more, and it's a puzzle game, but it looked kind of like the platformers that I usually play, just from like first person view. So I really appreciated that. It looked like something that made me feel like it's a video game I would definitely want to play. I also really loved the horror games, like The Medium and oh goodness, the vampire. What was that called?
Bloodlines 2.
Yes, Bloodlines 2.
Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines 2.
Yes, that mouthful of a title. Those two were definitely the ones that interested me. I'm a big fan of horror. I love the horror genre and spoopy things, so those definitely intrigued me. As well as Second Extinction. I love the fact that it's a co-op game that you basically hunt down dinosaurs or try to survive from being hunted yourself. And so I love co-op games like Left 4 Dead and Gears of War. So those are definitely Second Extinction is definitely a game that is something I'm going to want to look out for. And finally, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Those I've never played really. I've never gotten too much into Assassin's Creed, but I've always really wanted to. So this might be the first game that takes me down the rabbit hole of the Assassin's Creed series.
They do have ones on Switch too. I want to say one was I think 3 was recently just on sale, or it's on sale right now. But yeah, my personal favorite was also Second Extinction. I think it looked really interesting. The co-op, it looked like a Left 4 Dead 2 with dinosaurs, and so I'm interested in that one. That'll definitely be one that I will be keeping my eye out for and potentially getting if it also does come to the PlayStation 5. Connor?
My top two would be Scorn, just because of how shocking it was, but also how disgusting and gritty and fun it looks. I really love the creativity of like the weaponry and stuff like that. I don't know, are they two different organisms that attach and you have like these teeth bullets that you put in? It's super weird. I really loved some of the gameplay that I saw on YouTube. And then I think my other favorite was The Medium, because I want to dive deeper into horror games because they're a lot of fun and I really enjoy the genre. I think definitely a more distant second place would probably be Second Extinction, but it's not for a lack of interest in it, just because the other two are just that more attention grabbing
For sure. And so yeah, I mean, overall, yeah, I think it was a good idea, but we could have got a little more, I feel like, but hey, it's all good.
It's a clickbaity title. There's no gameplay.
Yeah, there wasn't much actual gameplay, but oh well, but yeah, like I said, for more in-depth analysis on the gameplay reveals, check out our Rocket Talk mini episode, and you can hear us talk a little bit more about our favorite games and the ones that didn't stick with them. Moving on, though, Nintendo did announce their updated sales charts through the end of March. So for the 2019 fiscal year, for quarter one of 2020 and all that. So Animal Crossing in the first 11 days sold just under 12 million units, and it has since surpassed 13. So it joins. So it's now the fastest selling Switch game. It also joins Pokemon Sword and Shield, Super Mario Odyssey, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as Switch games that sold more copies than the Wii U system sold.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not fully surprised that we did see Animal Crossing selling like hotcakes. It's almost like it came out during a pandemic or something. Yeah. My goodness, also, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is up to 24.77 million units, which is almost 6 million more than number 2 with Smash Bros. Ultimate. So it is, barring none, the number 1 selling game. And then here's another crazy fact for you. So The Switch has now sold 55.77 million units. That's more than the GameCube and the Nintendo 64 combined. Those two combined is 54.67.
Wow. Jesus.
So
That's awesome.
That is great. I think part of it has to do with the fact that it's either that Nintendo is finally doing something right, or the fact that video games are just becoming more like popular than they were back, or both. Maybe it's both.
It's got to be a little bit of
It's a
column
mixture
A
of
and
both.
B.
I mean, the Switch is still about 100 million off of passing the PlayStation 2. All of the 4 PlayStation systems have broke 100 million units in sales.
Wow.
But yeah, it's one of those that a mixture of a game both, and then just Nintendo getting everything right, where it's a good mix of things that casual gamers want to play because of games like Animal Crossing, and you have a Pokemon game on there. You have really good Mario and Zelda and Smash Brothers. So it's ones that, and then also now too, because of the system doing well, you're seeing third party on it. One thing we didn't put in our notes for some news topics is EA is looking to bring more games now to the Switch, and that's a huge thing too, because EA has been one of the ones that hasn't really put out games on the Switch, and so getting another big name for games will help. Yeah, it's good for Nintendo. They definitely have rebounded after what the Wii U did for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really love how I was thinking this entire time, man, the Nintendo Switch is kicking so much ass. I knew that PlayStation was number one. I did not know it was this distant of a lead.
Well, I mean, think about it too. The PlayStation had almost 3.5 years on the Switch. So, and then also too, those first few months, people were like, "Do I really want to buy a Nintendo system after the Wii U?"
True. Mm-hmm.
But
it
yeah,
hasn't taken too long for them to realize that the Switch is, definitely, the
Worth
it. It's worth it, and definitely going up for Nintendo. Like, definitely something that I think more people are realizing it's worth having, because it's not looking back at like what the Wii U was. Or
and my bad, I
what the Wii
misspoke.
was.
The PlayStation 3 did not break 100 million, but it sold more than 87.4. So it's close to 100 million. The Wii, it sold 100 million, but the PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 4, and then the Wii are the only home consoles that ever broke 100 million. And then the Game Boy and the Nintendo DS also broke 100 million. But yeah, the Switch has sold more than the Xbox One. Microsoft hasn't released numbers for the Xbox One sales since not long after the system was released, after it kind of had a poor launch. But the estimate for the Xbox One is about 47 million. So that's still another 8 million that the Switch has sold more than. So Nintendo just has it. So the Switch is about to pass the NES, and then it has a bit to go before it can pass the Wii. But almost 56 million in a little over 3 years is incredible, especially after they're coming off of a console that only sold 13.56 million.
Yes, this is not shocking, but it is, the turnaround is impressive
For sure. And then moving on, we do also now have a new director for a Star Wars movie. Connor, can you pronounce his name for me so I don't mess this up?
Taika Waititi.
Yes, exactly. But I always mispronounce it, and I don't want to do that. But he is going to be directing and co-writing a new Star Wars film. That's really all we know, besides some of the other people on the production line of it. But, I mean, he directed one of the best MCU movies and has been a hot and rising director over the film ranks over the last few months and years. What are you guys' thoughts then on this so far?
I love it. I love Taika Waititi. I think his sense of his feel for the material that he's given is great, and I think he thrives with no matter what franchise he's touching or what topic he's touching. He always finds some creative spin on it. I know he did direct the Mandalorian season 1 finale, so he does have some familiarity with Star Wars. So I'm just excited to see where he's going to take this. It's going to be a funny movie. I know that.
Oh yeah, it's going to probably be the funniest Star Wars movie ever, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I saw it was Thor Ragnarok, right?
Yes.
That he directed.
Yes.
Yeah. So I loved that movie, like you guys said, and I'm looking forward to it. I've never been the world's biggest Star Wars fan, but I definitely think that I'm always ready to see a new trilogy or a new movie at least that comes out with that I get to see with everybody else for the first time. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
For sure. And then another one I didn't have in the notes too. We also did get announced. Speaking of the Mandalorian, the actor who was Boba Fett in Episode 2 is going. I mean, Jango Fett in Episode 2 is going to be returning in the Mandalorian as Boba Fett. So Boba Fett lives first off. So that's awesome.
Whoa.
And then also, it's cool that they are kind of keep the continuity that it is a clone of Jango Fett. So that's pretty cool. A little extra thing, but. Along with the space theme, we also got the trailer for Space Force this past week, as the show will be launching in a few weeks. And what would your guys' thoughts then be on this show? Overall, I thought it looks funny. This cast looks loaded. I'm excited to definitely see how this ends up going.
If it's got Steve Carell's name attached to it, it looked absolutely hilarious. And yeah, I think the cast just even sold me more, even though I was already sold with Steve.
Yeah, I mean, same for me. I mean, it's got so many big names. It's got
John Malkovich, Ben Schwartz, obviously Steve Carell,
Jane Lynch. Yeah, like it's just got it. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's just The Office in space, basically. So I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not in space, but just like preparing for. I'm just excited. It looks like a lot of fun. So
yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how Greg Daniels and Steve Carell work together again, because Daniels is one that he worked on The Office and Parks and all that. So I am very excited for this when it does launch in a couple weeks. It will be launching on Netflix on May 29th, so it just only a few weeks away. So we'll definitely have to give our opinions on it. I'm sure Johnny will have it finished by the end of the day on the 29th.
What is that? That's a Friday? Yeah,
Yep.
Probably.
Yeah, so it'll be 2 weeks from this upcoming Friday, from the day we're recording this, which also, even though this won't come out till after it, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there listening.
Yes,
Happy Mother's Day.
But yeah, this does look pretty funny. I mean, and then I guess our nerd news now is just kind of space themed. The Department of Justice also did confirm the authenticity of 3 videos depicting UFOs. Connor, why don't you kind of go talk more about this real space thing then, I guess?
Oh, yes. So it was last week or the week before. Really funny. Blink-182's Tom DeLonge.
Tom DeLonge, and he's not in Blink-182 anymore. He left about 5 years ago. But yes, former Blink-182 singer. And
Wow, Connor.
Angels and
How
Airwaves.
dare you?
Okay.
He left because but a big reason why he left is because he was working on what he's doing now with all this UFO stuff.
Yes, and so apparently
dare
his
you not
company
know
helped. Yeah.
Turn in your nerd badge.
Okay, fine. I'm going, guys. See ya. Yeah, so his company was one that helped leak these videos in the first place. I mean, one of these videos came out in, I didn't want to say it was well over 15 years ago, and then all of these videos have been leaked for years, and it's been really divisive, I guess, in the UFO community. And so the Department of Justice was just like, we're going to confirm some UFO videos. Why not the ones that have been out for years already? So just kind of confirming what a lot of these conspiracy theorists have known already for years. But yeah, there's 3 videos in particular, and they're not it's not like someone has like super high quality camera that they were on some sort of, they were in Hollywood and they were already shooting a movie, and so they just tilted the camera upwards. No, it's videos taken on like jets from the U.S. Air Force and stuff like that, so you can't really see any like really defined details or anything. They just kind of look like blips, but they're shooting around everywhere in like super weird flight patterns and stuff like that. But I thought it was just really interesting how the Department of Justice was just like, yeah, it's all authentic footage. We didn't not been doctored at all or anything like that. So that news came out and nobody gave a shit. Nobody said anything. Like, it was nowhere.
That's because we're doing all the Rona stuff, Connor. Nothing else.
Exactly.
I mean, we're all
but
we're all in trouble already for one pandemic. We don't need another like an invasion
And
that
there's
could happen.
killer
is,
hornets. We don't have to
Yeah.
worry about aliens when there's killer hornets.
True. Yeah. And of course, I think someone said we didn't have to. Did Trump say we didn't have to worry about the Hornets because they're not going to spread or anything throughout the U.S.? I'm just going to take that and I'm going to just shred that, put that in the shredder where it belongs, because they're gonna spread and they're gonna kill us all if the UFOs don't get to us first.
The one thing I have to say about the aliens thing is the picture of the guy from the National Geographic thing. Alien.
yeah, aliens. Did you guys have anything like you wanted to, like any reaction to the Department of Justice saying this is all authentic?
Aliens.
All right. Like I'm kind of like unironic. Like I'm kind of at the point where it's like I'm so concerned with so many other things at the moment that, like, if aliens exist, it's like all they could do is help us at this point. Like to imagine anything getting worse is just hard to believe. So
maybe they have the cure.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they're here to help us out. Or maybe they brought the killer hornets. Who knows?
That is potential. But I think it is now then time to move on to the topic of the week. This week's topic is our favorite video games. So
how can we be talking about our favorite video games when aliens exist?
Because video games, Connor.
Yes.
So each of us is going to give our 2 favorite video games, go over why we love it, and then just when we first played it, some of our favorite moments about it, all that stuff. So Connor, why don't you start us off with your 2 choices?
My first 2 choices was Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex and The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. I guess I'll start off with The Wrath of Cortex. That was one of the first video games I've ever played. I think it was released in like 2000 or 2001, maybe 2002 or something like that. I think I started playing it for the first time in like 2003 or so. And it was the first game, I think, that I was like consciously aware of I need to complete this, because at first, like, I was just playing games, just kind of dick around and not really try or anything like that, just kind of exploring what a video game is and what I can do. And so this one I was actually starting to like get into it, trying to complete it, trying to actually make some progress and stuff like that. That was also like when I was a kid, it was just like the greatest thing ever. Oh my gosh, I'm Crash Bandicoot. This is the greatest game I've ever played. Now that I've played literally any other Crash Bandicoot game, I realize just how like boring The Wrath of Cortex, how stupid simple it is. I really I think the first thing that ever captured me was the music. I really loved it, kind of like the jazzy like hub world music.
It's like I can hear it.
I was a professional singer. And so I think definitely one of my favorite levels of all time is, I think, within like the first 5 levels or something like that, was Wizards and Lizards, because it's just so campy, so cheesy, and so fun. It was really, really hard the very first time I played it, and then obviously there's harder levels towards the end of the game, so I went back and just easily just breezed right through. Then Breath of the Wild just might be the finest video game I've ever played, ever, with just how expansive the world is, how I love how like you can have fast travel in it, but also if you just wanted to run or ride a horse through the level, it doesn't look like it's loading while you're exploring it. I mean, there are some times where it does look a little bit like that, but when you are running or riding your horse towards a mountain, that mountain is slowly getting closer to you. It's not just loading in the background and you're there. So I think that's how expansive the world is, and how diverse of range of climates and stuff like that, areas of the world are. It's just so like amazing. It's like as breathtaking as the John Wick. What is his
Keanu
name?
Reeves?
Thank you. Is equally as breathtaking as Keanu Reeves. And then just the music. I know it's not like a linear story. So like if you go from one world to the next, the music is gonna. Each area is going to have its own musical cue, and I think it's just amazing. I think I don't necessarily have a favorite area in Breath of the Wild, and as far as like my favorite music goes, I'm back and forth all the time, but right now I'm really digging the Rito Village.
Nice.
So tell us more like about Crash Bandicoot. I almost said Crash of the Bandicoot.
Crash of the Bandicoot.
So about Crash of the Bandicoot, tell us more about like what was it like playing that when you were like, tell us more about what it was like playing that when you were growing up. Like, what are some of your favorite moments? What do you think about, like, when you first think about the game? What are the images that pop into your head?
Tyler, my brother, he and I sitting next to each other, playing it, going from level to level. We'll just hand each other the controller, and if one of us is really, really sucking, we'll make fun of the other and then help them out.
That's rude.
You.
Well, it's brothers. That's what brothers do. So that's like being one of the earliest memories I have with a video game. I actually have the very GameCube I was playing on right in front of me, and I've got a couple of GameCube games. I don't have any Crash games anymore on the GameCube. And like, what are my favorite moments with it? That's tough.
Was it later when you found out that the Elemental voice cast is like loaded?
Right, that is really cool. Never would have known if I didn't just like randomly become curious about it in high school or whatever. Like, who's voicing it? What are my? Because there's so many memories that have been ruined by playing it again when I'm older and realizing how much it sucks. But I think one of my favorite, like, beating it for the first time, beating my very first video game with my brother, and we were just like, yeah, finally! I think that's one of the most vivid memories I have when I think back to The Wrath of Cortex.
Nice. So have you beaten Breath of the Wild too?
No, I'm so close though. I have 100 shrines, and I just got to Goron City, which is the very last area of the map that I needed to get. And that's like all I've been doing right now is just beating bad guys and finding shrines. I've been purposely delaying it.
What do you think? What do you think of the world so far? Like, you know, getting to see the Gerudo and the Rito and the Zora and the Gorons. Yeah, what do you think about, like, you know?
Just amazing. This is the only Zelda game that when I beat this will be the only Zelda game I've ever beaten, because I have Wind Waker and I actually have it on GameCube. Still haven't beaten it. Haven't even picked it up in years. But this game is just absolutely incredible.
Nice. How about you, Johnny? What would you say your two favorite games are? I know this is going to be a big shock for any of our listeners who know you, but
Yeah.
what are your two?
So my two favorites are not necessarily games, but more game series. Would be Banjo-Kazooie and also Banjo-Tooie. And then for my second one, it'd be the entirety of Donkey Kong Country. Those are the games that I played a lot growing up. And now that I'm stuck in quarantine, I've since replayed both Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. And now I'm working through. I played DK64, and now I'm playing all of DK Countries again. And it is, it's like I do it every year. I try to play all of those games once a year and beat, 100% complete it every year. And so now it's really nice to be in that spot again where I'm reliving my childhood. There's so many moments that I have, like there's certain points in the game that I really love to get to, because like in each of these games, because it always means like that I used to, when I was a kid, I would like stop at a certain point and I would just be like, oh, this is too tough, I can't get any further. But now that I'm older, now that I've played them so many different times, when I get to a certain world, I know that I'm going to be able to complete the entire game, because I'm just like committed at that point. So when I get to certain places, like in Banjo-Kazooie, when I get to the swamp world called Bubble Gloop Swamp, when I get there, I'm like, oh, I know I'm going to finish the whole game, because it's the fourth world and out of like 9, so there's quite a bit to go. But I know at that point, I know I'm committed and I'm gonna be able to finish it, and it's just gonna be a lot of fun. And yeah, same thing with Donkey Kong Country. The second game of the trilogy is one of my favorite games of all time, and it's actually coincidentally also the swamp world in that game as well.
Okay, Shrek.
Get out of my swamp.
What are you doing in my swamp? Yeah, it's called Krem Key, and it's the third world in the second Donkey Kong Country game. And mostly for that one, it's because the second world is the lava world in Donkey Kong Country 2, and I absolutely despise the lava world. It's my favorite Donkey Kong Country game, but I'm so glad that my least favorite world is the second one rather than like the last one or the second to last, because it means that once I surpass the lava world, then I just have like the rest of the game to enjoy. But yeah, it's like such like the second game. I don't know if you guys have played it before, or if I've, Connor, I might have made you watch me play it at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I definitely at some point we're going to play that as a let's play. I'm going to show you all the things that I enjoyed about it. But yeah, there's so many moments within the game that take me back to when I was a wee lad.
Nice. And how many times have you played this game, like in total, like throughout your life?
I mean, a lot. Like I've played
Ballpark it.
Yeah, roughly how many days do you think you have combined in these games?
Well, I've played each of them every year at least since I was like 13, and then before that it was less regular, less annual, but like I mean more than 10 for sure. But yeah, it's I would say like 15 maybe. I've definitely played the second game the most, and I've played the third one the fewest amount of times. But yeah, Donkey Kong, the original trilogy, and Banjo-Kazooie 1, I've played so many times. Banjo-Tooie is so freaking long. I forgot until I just played through it last week that Banjo-Kazooie I can beat in a single day, but Banjo-Tooie takes me like 5 or 6 days of non-stop playing just to finally get through it. It is so freaking big. Gabe talked about it when he was on our show before, and that like Banjo-Kazooie you can beat in like 3, 4, 5 hours maybe if you like really know what you're doing. But Banjo-Tooie, it takes so much longer. The worlds are bigger, everything is spread out. That you have to backtrack a lot. There's a lot of interconnecting worlds, and so like if you want to do one thing in world 1, then you have to go to world 9 to be able to do this one thing in world 1. And then yeah, it's a great game, but it's really big. But yeah, I love all of these games just because they're the ones that I remember playing the most as a kid, and I have very good memory. And the worlds are just so the characters are great, the worlds are great, the experience that I've had playing it. Yeah.
When you go back and play them, do you also go back and then now play Returns and then Tropical Freeze as well, or do you just stick to the Super Nintendo?
So I do play. Actually, I said the third one was probably the one I played the least. Actually, Returns is probably the one I've played the least, just because it's only been released on the Wii, and I gave away my Wii U, which had backwards compatibility to the Wii, so I actually don't have a way to play Returns anymore. But I would, and I did before, when I would play the original trilogy, I would play Donkey Kong and Tropical Freeze. But now I'll probably just play the original trilogy and then run through Tropical Freeze. And yeah.
All right. But what about you, Luke? What are your top 2 favorites? Because I know it's super easy to narrow down all of your video game knowledge into 2 games.
So yeah, this is where it's hard for me. So I always kind of like Johnny, how he can like kind of narrow it down to a couple. I usually narrow it down to Crash Team Racing, Sonic Adventure 2, Portal 2, and The Last of Us. But I've talked about Crash Team Racing and The Last of Us a lot recently, so I'll talk about Sonic Adventure 2 and Portal 2. So Sonic Adventure 2, this is the game that made me fall in love with the Sonic series. I played it way too much as a kid. With it, I had it on the Dreamcast, and then when I got a GameCube, I got it on the GameCube. When it came out eventually on PlayStation 3 in 2012, I bought it day one on PlayStation 3. I bought it a couple years ago on PC. Combined, I have over 30 days played on all 4 versions of the game. Because I had over 20 on the GameCube, and I had a ton of that on the Dreamcast as well. I only have a few on the PS3 and probably only like 10 hours or 12 hours on the PC. I didn't play the PC version as much, but it's just a game that I love so much. Like I said, it's the one that made me fall in love with the Sonic series. It made me fall in love with Shadow the Hedgehog as a character. And
edgy.
Yes, edgy. And like, yeah, sure, it's definitely one like Wrath of Cortex that looking back now, there are some faults you can really see. A big one was they were focusing on Sonic Knuckles, and Eggman as playable characters. And then later on, they quickly threw in Rouge, Shadow, and Tails. And you can tell because none of those characters really have any unique elements to their levels in terms of set pieces or anything like that. Like all of their levels, there's another character that already goes through a level just like that. And so that was one that you can definitely see. And then also just some of the treasure hunting levels kind of suck. Looking at you, Mad Space. but it's still a fun game. I love to go and replay it all the way through. And it was definitely one that I put way too much time in. What's funny is I felt like growing up, I always felt like the Biolizard fight as Shadow was harder than the final boss as Supersonic and Super Shadow as a kid.
Oh, it is. Yeah, for sure.
And it's funny that the penultimate fight is harder than the final boss. But yeah, no, that game is just a ton of fun. I feel like it definitely is one of the strongest story modes the series has had because it takes itself seriously enough that like that you feel like there's stakes in it, but it's still also Sonic, so it's also kind of campy and goofy with everything. And it has some of my favorite portrayals of the characters. My favorite moment would probably be honestly just the whole last story. Like it just is a really cool concept that, oh man, Eggman's grandpa is so mad about Maria dying. Spoiler. That
What?
Yeah, but Eggman's grandpa Gerald Robotnik is so mad about that he like basically brainwashes Shadow, like and like tweaks the Shadow to make Shadow think that like he needs to promise Maria revenge and kill all the humans. And be an edgy McEdgelord, but but like it's like, and just like the whole thing, like they have to work together. Like they have to work with Eggman for the first time in the series to save the Earth, and they do it
first, but not the last.
True. But yeah, they finally work with Eggman, and on top of that too, this was the first time Eggman was playable. And one of the only times Eggman's playable in a mainline game. So you got to play as Eggman. Finally, you're the bad guy. Finally, the guy that you've been boinking on the head for at that point 10 years. And it was a perfect way for the Dreamcast to go out. It was one of the last main releases for the Dreamcast, as it had already been discontinued. But yeah, some of my earliest video game memories were playing that on the Dreamcast, like that and Crash Team Racing. I can I could think back to playing it because Sonic Adventure 2 was released in 2001 when I was 6, and yeah, I have so many memories with it. Well, my favorite piece of music in it, in a great soundtrack, of course, would be Live and Learn.
Oh,
I
yes.
actually do own the soundtrack on vinyl. It has about 30
That's
tracks,
awesome.
including Live and Learn and City Escape, all of the characters' main themes. And then favorite level, oh man, that's so hard. Basically every Sonic level that's not Pyramid Cave is awesome, but of course it would be Radical Highway or City Escape. Those are just such iconic levels. But
Yeah, what an awesome way to start off the game with City Escape.
well, that's just a good thing about Sonic games is that like the first level is almost always one of the best in the game. Sonic 1, Green Hill Zone, best level in the game by far. Sonic 2, Emerald Hill Zone, great level. Chemical Plant's probably better in a lot of people's eyes, but it is wonderful to start that game off with City Escape, and just like one of the most iconic video game music pieces of all time with Escape from the City.
Where do you where does Crazy Gadget lie for you? Like it, hate it? Or...
Lower. It's that is one that is with Pyramid Cave as well, towards the bottom, just because of that end when you have to do the stupid gravity puzzle thing does get quite annoying, especially because like sometimes when I was a kid and had it on the GameCube, I had an action replay, and when I played it on PC, I have mods on so I can mess around with stuff, and you can't just zoom through the end of that level with mods. You actually have to go through at least to the orb plug thing that like you can get the rocket, and it's like, okay, really, do I have to do this? But yeah, that would probably be my second least favorite. I don't know, Pyramid Cave I don't know why I don't like that. I've never liked that as much. Like it's those two levels are the only Sonic levels that I feel like they kind of fall flat.
And that's the one where you have a lot of those timers that you flip up and upside down. You have to get to a door before it closes.
Yeah, because Sonic uses that, Knuckles, and all those. The pyramid section of that game is kind of weak, but yeah, like that. Those two levels have always been kind of some of my least favorites. I love Final Rush, Metal Harbor, Green Forest. Those are just so much fun. Johnny, you were gonna ask a question?
Yeah. So how do you feel about the Chow Garden?
I have a lot of time. That's where a good amount of my time has come as well. I put a ton of time into that. I have raised some wonderful chow. I have never raised a good enough chow to win the hard or the super hard karate challenges, or really most of the races outside of the beginner race. But I definitely have sunk a lot of time into it. It's one that now that I have it on the PC and I can like access it almost anywhere, unless it does come to the Switch, I feel like that's my best way to go and really put in enough time that I can make finally like a goat chow. But I do put a lot of time into it. I know that's the one that, you know, there's some people that's the only reason why they play Sonic Adventure 2 still in 2020, and then others who like do not care for it. I would kind of probably be in the middle, leaning towards the carrying side. So like if a 1 to 10, if a 1 isn't carrying 10, is that's all I'm doing, I'm probably a 6 or a 7.
That's probably where I'm at too. It took me a while to actually start caring about it because I thought it was just like, oh, this is stupid time waster, and then
It's just,
when
it's
you actually
insane
upgrade your
how
chow,
deep
it's
it is
fun.
with.
Exactly. Once I realized that, then it was like, this is actually kind of like fun.
Yeah,
I'm like, so proud of my boy.
I've spent too much time as well, raising my Chow, and it's always like sad when you see like they're evolving and then they're actually dying and then they just disappear, and I'm like, oh, okay, goodbye, I fucking guess.
Well, you can make them reincarnate too if you love them enough. I guess you didn't love them enough.
I thought they just sometimes they just die.
There's a way to make them reincarnate as well if they felt like they were loved enough. They're like, it's one of those that if you look up online, yeah, there's so many ways that like it's a very deep side game on that, with everything, with all of the items you could use to upgrade them and all of that.
I'm sure you guys felt the pain of giving your chow away and hearing that really sad music.
I never
yeah.
did that because I'm not a horrible person.
No, I never, I don't remember doing it. I'm sure at some point I had, but I remember like
all the time.
Why did you do that?
Because it was
like, they
before
look
I
so
cared
sad.
about. They do, but it's like they'll live a great life and stuff like that. So like, okay, I can do this. But then they have like the sad music in the background. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm doing this. But it was before I really cared, before I knew how deep Chow World can go.
Fun fact, so when I was a kid, I didn't realize at first that you could like hold the egg and shake it to hatch it. I just thought that you had to like, so I would throw them. So I'd be like Shadow, and I pick the egg up and just like eat, and then throw it, and then
Well, yeah, just like humans, like always shake your baby.
exactly. But
Jeez.
Yeah, if you don't have
Don't do
patience,
that.
just chuck them.
because you know, when they're in the egg, you can hatch it. Like they'll naturally hatch if you don't do anything. But if you hold it and then there's a button, you like slightly rock it back and forth. Then when you put it down, they hatch out. I didn't know that as a kid, so yeah. So I just throw it and then they'd pop out.
They're never like
There's not a good
underdeveloped
tutorial
or anything
system,
like
yeah.
that. So
but-
it's like there's no reason to wait.
Yeah, but yeah, I just love Sonic Adventure 2. It's one of those that, I mean, like I said, I own it on 4 different systems, and when, you know, if Sega was like, hey, we're gonna port Sonic Adventure 2 to the Switch, I will not hesitate and buy it again, even though I can access it on my computer with ease, and all I have to do to play it on PS3 is either get my PS3 to Georgia or subscribe to PlayStation Now, and I can play. So it's a ton of fun, and the PC version has a ton of fun mods to change things up. One of the ones I did on my most recent playthrough was a mod that puts the game in chronological order. So you start with Iron Gate, and as you go through the game, it mixes the 2 stories. So you'll play an Eggman level, and then you'll play a Sonic level, and then you'll play a Tail. Like it'll do ones where you're playing. You can play through all of the 30 levels back to back to back, and they'll interweave the cutscenes together, and it works pretty well too. It was a ton of fun. So then moving on to my other game, it would be Portal 2, which I briefly, I won't say I briefly touched on because the game just hit 9 years old a few weeks ago. It is by far the funniest game I have ever played. The writing in this game is incredible. All the characters in it are wonderful, especially J.K. Simmons in it as Cave Johnson. He is, every time that you get a Cave Johnson voiceover clip, it is just like, yes, please give me more, because he plays the part so well as the Aperture Science CEO. It's one that, even if you guys haven't played the game, I would just go look up a YouTube video after this of best of Cave Johnson clips. Stephen Merchant as Wheatley is great. GLaDOS is amazing. towards the end of the game, one of the things you have to do, spoiler if you do want to play the story mode, but in the final boss fight, you have to put corrupted cores onto the final boss so that way you can do a core swap. And each of those personality cores have a different personality they are. The first one is this like very spazzy, wants to go to space core. And so he's just like, space, I want to go to space. And he's just talking all about how he wants to go to space. And he's so excited to go to space. And it's at one point, his voice will get lower and it says, "Oh, yes, son." And it's like, "Dad, are you in space?" "Yes. Now we can be a family again." and just other goofy stuff like that. The second core is this like adventure core, and he's like trying to like flirt with you because your character's a female. He's like, "Hey there, pretty lady," and it'll be like, "Name's Rick," and he'll just go on and just try to be all big and tough, even though he's like a little like spherical core. And the third one is a fun fact one. So it'll just give you a bunch of random facts. Some are true and some aren't, and it'll just be the most random assortment of things ever. And it doesn't make sense, but oh man, the game is just so much fun as well. It makes you think a lot because it's a puzzle game. The first-person shooter puzzle game is a good way to describe it for people who've never played it, and because it uses your physics. So if you jump off a ledge and you go through a portal, the speed you're going through will carry you when you come out the other portal. And so one of my favorite moments of it is about halfway through the game. You have to jump through this sign to get to the entrance of the old Aperture Science entrance, and so you're up top and you go down, and then it launches you through the Aperture Science logo sign, and then like a voiceover clip plays and like welcomes you to it. It just is a really cool moment to figure out, and it really shows like the physics based momentum with it. But yeah, it's such a wonderful game. It's ones that like I haven't played through it in a few years, and I've been playing again the last couple weeks, and it's just been so great to see again. I still remember most of the puzzles so that I can go through. It'll take me a second on a few. It's
How many Portal games are there?
Just there's two, and then there's a couple spin-offs. So there's Portal, and then there's Portal 2, and then Bridge Constructor. They made a spin-off with Portal that you'll use portals to make it. And then there also is Portal makes an appearance in Lego Dimensions. It's one of the levels in the main story, and then there's a Portal level pack that you can play. But yeah, for official games, it's just Portal 1 and 2, and then there are the few spin-off games. But yeah, it's a ton of fun. I'm waiting for a Portal 3, but as we know, Valve can't count to 3, so we will probably never get another Portal game.
And so like between Sonic Adventure 2 and Portal 2 are your favorites. Not exactly a lot of overlap there. What about a particular game really catches your interest, like the style and the artwork, and like what do you like about certain games where you're willing to buy
Portal
them?
2 is just a ton of fun. It was one that I knew what Portal was a little bit when Portal 2 came out. One of the biggest things that I knew about it coming into playing it was at E3 2010, Gabe Newell from Valve came out and said that the game was going to be on PlayStation, and it was going to be including integration with Steam, so you'd be able to play with people on PC on PlayStation. And this came after Gabe Newell was very critical of the PS3, and so that I just knew that was a big deal. But like I knew the game was like iconic and fun, but I didn't know much about Portal 1 going into it. And it was actually one of the reasons I wanted to play it was I was at Walmart looking at games, and it just came out, and one of the just some random dude at Walmart's like, "Oh man, you should get this game. It's one of the best I've ever played." And I was like, "Oh." And I had a buddy that he had it, and he let me borrow it for like a week, and it was right at the same time that Sony's PlayStation Network servers were down, so you couldn't play anything online. So I couldn't play Call of Duty with friends, so I just went and played through all that. And it was just one that I just was hooked right away. I beat it in only a couple days, went back and did most of the side quests for the other trophies. And so by the time I gave it back to him, all I had to do was play the co-op mode.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the moments like outside of the game that you like remember while playing it, if that makes sense. Like, do you have any moments with Portal 2 that really stick out to you? Like, not within the game, like not moments in the game, but things that you were doing that always remind you of Portal 2, or things.
I mean, just when I see my friend Scott, who like let me borrow the game, that's this one. Because it was funny because he was like, hey, man, can I borrow the game for like a week? And then he took that literally a week. So then it was one that when it was like 6 days, he was like, oh, yes, are you ready to give me back Portal 2 tomorrow? I was like, oh, yeah. And so I went and scrambled and finished a few more of the stuff for some of the trophies to get. But that's definitely one. I have the same memories I do with some of the other games I played at my parents' house, just in my basement. After, like, I played it after school at the end of the school year. It was like right around this time, 9 years ago, that I was playing it. So, just waiting to get home so I could play some more. Not really ones where I can remember like, oh man, I remember playing this while my dog was next to me, or my mom was talking about making this for dinner. It just, I can just remember just enjoying playing it after school a lot, and that would have been my freshman year of high school.
The Portal 2 is definitely another one of those, or Portal in general is definitely a game series, I guess, not very short series. It's just it's a title that I really have heard a lot of great things about, and I really need to pick up and play at some point. And maybe when is it available on PC?
Yeah, that's where it started. It's Valve stuff on PC. Yeah, so it's one that if you get your once you get your laptop, you might be able to run it. I mean, the game isn't super demanding. It can run on my laptop just fine. I have only had a couple issues with it when I've tried to play. It helps that my graphics card that I have in it, the Intel, or my Intel chip has like a thing where some games it'll automatically configure the settings for you, and Portal 2 is one of them. But you can go and you can get both Portal games together in a bundle, and it is, I want to say, like $15 or $20 to get both. Let me go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, $14.98.
No reason not to get it.
$14.98 comes with both Portal 1 and Portal 2, or you can buy them for $10 individually. So
I need to get it. There's no reason not to.
Yes, and so like Portal 1, it takes 2-3 hours, and then Portal 2 will take more about a 9-10 hour campaign. And then it also has a co-op mode, and if you do get Portal 2, I can play co-op with you.
Yay!
Yeah, it is a wonderful game. It's definitely one that's it's because people, not everyone likes Sonic. People are hesitant to play a racing game that's not Mario Kart. There's not Johnny. No, but like,
I like Diddy Kong Racing.
The Last of Us is it's a violent game, so like there's people that won't like that. So Portal is an easier one to recommend to a lot of people because there's so many things that all you have to do really is like problem solve. You don't need to memorize it. I mean, yeah, there's controls you got to get down, and people who don't play much video games, yeah, maybe the first person aspect will get them, but there's not a whole bunch of like, okay, you need to figure out these button combos, or you need to do this stealth thing, figure out how to get to A to B.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alrighty, so with that, then that concludes our favorite video games of all time. Obviously, I can talk a lot more about these games. I can talk a lot about games we didn't even mention, but that would be it. So now we can move on to our recommendations from last week. Connor's recommendation was Field of Dreams. So Connor, first off, why don't you talk to us why you picked this, and then Johnny and I can go into our thoughts on it.
Believe it or not, I saw Field of Dreams for the very first time like 5 months ago, 6 months ago, not even. I've never seen the game before.
Judging.
The movie?
Yeah, maybe it might have even been less. It could have been even more recent than that. But yeah, I can't believe I'd never seen it before. Yeah, as you definitely should. But I'm a really big baseball fan. I really miss the baseball during the pandemic. Personally, I think we should open sports back up to everyone, and we'll just weed out the weak, and for the sake of the game.
Connor, bad.
No.
And it's considered one of the best baseball movies of all time. Considered probably up there with one of the better sports movies. And I really wanted to hear your guys' take on it. And, Luke, I know you've seen this before. Johnny, I think this might also be your first time seeing it. So Yeah. What do you guys think?
Actually, no, I have seen this before, but it was a while ago when I saw it. It was my grandfather that got me to watch it, and I don't remember very much about it at all. So pretty much it was like watching it for the first time because I didn't know really what it was about, and even though like it was very much about like obviously it was centered almost entirely around baseball, it didn't feel like a baseball movie, if that makes sense. You know, it felt like it wasn't like your typical sports movie. It was more of a drama that was like, you know, heavily focused on on baseball, which I really liked that a lot because it gave me more reason to care, I guess, than than the last movie that we watched a few weeks ago. What was it that we watched?
Major League.
Major League.
You don't
yeah.
have to know a lot about baseball in order to follow this plot line.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I thought it was great. I really liked all of the characters. I was really concerned when the daughter fell off the back at the end of the movie, off the back of the bleachers. She fell off, and the ghost came forward, and he was coming up to heal her. I thought he was coming up to take her away, and I was like, no, what? No, like that cannot happen. And like I thought she was dead, and I was like, what? No, absolutely not. I do not accept this. But no, she was fine. It was just a bit of hot dog, apparently. So yeah, it was a really good movie. It was very heartwarming, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
All right, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I really like with the doctor. There was a fantastic line in the movie where he was talking about how he had only played one inning of one game and he had 0 at-bats, and apparently this doctor was really, really influential for the small town in Minnesota that he was living in. And they were talking about how little baseball he played. It's a tragedy that you didn't get to live out your dream fully. And he said he just talked about how, based on the impact he had being a doctor, if he'd only been a doctor for as long as he was a baseball player, that would have been the real tragedy. And I thought that was such a great line. So, Luke, what were your thoughts on Field of Dreams?
I mean, I have seen this movie multiple times. I did not just first see this movie like within this year or the end of last year. I first saw it when I was like 10 because I'm not a heathen. It makes sense though that Johnny, like, it would have made sense if Johnny hadn't seen it because Johnny doesn't care much about sports. Even if he did care, he'd like baseball more. Connor, you're like, oh, I love baseball. My name's Connor. And then you're like, oh, one of the most iconic baseball movies. Next thing you're going to tell me you've never seen The Sandlot.
Actually,
Connor.
No,
wait, so Connor, I guess, yeah, now I'm realizing Connor is recommending something to us that we had seen before he did.
That's funny.
And?
But yes, I first watched that movie, yeah, I don't know, I was probably like 10. I was pretty young when I saw it, but yeah, no, I love this movie. It is definitely one of my favorite sport movies of all time because it's such a cool concept. A fun thing, too, is we still do not know who is whispering, if you build.
Yes.
It was Connor.
True. But like we don't like that's never been confirmed. So like this movie came out 30 years ago. But yeah,
could it be believed that it was his father?
No, like it's like we know who we know who is saying it in the movie. We just don't know what actor is the voice. Is what I'm saying.
Really? That's never been confirmed?
Nope. Many people think that it's either Kevin Costner, who was Ray, or it is Ray Liotta, who is Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
We don't know still 30 years later. And another fun fact too, actually Matt Damon and Ben Affleck as then teenagers are extras when they're at the Red Sox game.
Oh wow, cool! I did not know that.
Little fun fact for you. But yeah, no, I love this movie. It's so great. Yeah, because it's a good sports movie, but it's just a good movie that is about sports. Is a good way to put it with everything. The joke I always say is when Shoeless Joe is like, is this heaven? And he's like, no, it's Iowa. And then I'm like, then it's hell. Like that was always a joke my family and I had because Iowa's the worst. But
you mentioned that last week, and when I saw that part,
you thought of it?
I thought it was I thought of it, and it was funny, yeah.
But it's such a fun thing, and the Field of Dreams field is actually Like that is still there in Iowa. You can go and visit it, because of how popular this movie is.
There was supposed to be a Field of Dreams game this season. Unfortunately, everything's canceled. But they have a slightly bigger field, really, really close by to the Field of Dreams field that they were going to play on. And another fun fact. I was just remembering this. I have a buddy of mine named Dylan. His grandparents were actually in the film. They were in one of the cars that are lining up down the road
That's
at
awesome.
the very
Nice.
end. So apparently you had to tune to a certain AM station, and there was a director who was like giving them orders like when to be where and at what,
That's
how
super
like
cool.
drive at what speed and stuff.
I mean,
like
also,
that.
almost any movie with James Earl Jones is instantly a good movie.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
See Star Wars, Lion King, Sandlot, that
of
episode of The
Dreams,
Simpsons that he's
The,
on.
the other Lion King. Oh wait, no.
Yeah. And go on.
No, but yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite movies. Like it's up there with like Friday Night Lights as one of my favorite sports movies. It's been great. I was bummed. Abby was a little too busy that she wasn't able to watch it with me, so I'll have to watch it again when she is a little less busy with schoolwork, so I can show it to her as well. But yeah,
Has she also not seen it?
she has not seen it. No.
What a heathen. At least I've seen it.
Well, if we would have done this, like 6 months ago, then you guys are in the same boat. So.
True.
But yeah, it's good. Another good recommendation. It is a fun one, and definitely one that if you have not watched it, definitely go watch it. It is, even if you don't like sports, go watch Field of Dreams. It's a wonderful movie. Hopefully you'll like it.
Yeah.
Actually, one
really
last
glad
thing
that
too.
you
I would say the PTA meeting of them wanting to ban library books is the most Midwest scene in that entire movie.
Yes.
Oh
oh
my
my
gosh,
gosh.
yes,
And I
it
just
was.
yes, I love
Amy Madigan.
cast.
Yes, Amy Madigan.
Yes, I just love her character, just like laying into all those people, being like, "You guys hate the U.S. Constitution," and I just love Annie in that scene, like when she's like sliding on the floor, like hitting the locker. She's like, "Man, that looked amazing." I just love her. I love her character.
For sure. That was another great recommendation, and then that would mean that it is now Johnny's turn for a recommendation.
Okay, so this is actually going to be my first recommendation that is not a video game trailer. I'm likely to go back to that next, I guess 3 weeks from now when I do my next one. But for now, mine is a Netflix special. It's got 3 episodes, and it is called Middleditch and Schwartz. It's starring Thomas Middleditch and Ben Schwartz.
I know those people.
Yeah, it is a improvised. It's 3 episodes. They're about hour long, 50 minutes to an hour long, improv comedy specials, and there's 3 of them. You just need to watch the first one, but if you're like me, you'll watch all 3 in like the same day. If you really enjoy it, yeah, they pick a member of the audience and they talk to them. They ask them like, what do you do? What's your job? What's life like at your job? Who are some people in this, in like at your job, and who do you interact with on a regular basis? And they take the information that they get from that audience member and they turn it into an improv sketch, and it is so funny. It's a really good time. I think you guys will really enjoy it. I actually, there's 3 episodes. I'm going to say watch the first 2 of them just because it's
That's a lot.
It's about the length of a movie, so which we watched for Connors. So watch 2 of them, and if you want to watch the 3rd one, go ahead. But yeah, it's called Middleditch and Schwartz. So
And it's on Netflix. Are you
And it's
sure
on-
it's on Netflix? Because Connor's like, hey, this is on this thing.
It is a Netflix original. So
Okay, perfect.
Can
I do have Netflix.
Can I listen to it on my radio dramas at night?
if you are also connected to Netflix and you put that on your speakers, then yes, you can.
Okay.
All right, perfect. Well, you will definitely have to watch that and then do that before I give you my nice video that I already have picked out that's over an hour long for my recommendation.
Of course.
It's also a video game YouTube video that I found. I watched it last night. But I will...
Well, that's not about you this time.
I know.
so-
I'm just giving you the teaser.
calm
Even when it's not his
down.
week, he's already like prepping us. And
I know.
Well, I
Jeez.
I couldn't remember. I was like, okay, whose turn is that? And I was like, oh, wait, it's Johnny's. Okay, good. But then I found a video last week. Oh, this is perfect. But we will definitely convene next week and talk about Johnny's special. And I am excited to watch John Ralphio / Sonic in another show.
all right, perfect. Yeah, that wraps up
So yeah,
episode 14.
This would wrap up episode 14. But one thing too, do go to twitch.tv/Rocket Talk. I have been streaming more recently on there. I've been playing some Call of Duty Warzone and some Crash Team Racing. So if you want to watch me be annoying on video games, just like you enjoy me being annoying on this podcast, come do that. As we continue to grow, I'm sure Johnny and Connor will jump on the Twitch train soon as well. But
Oh yeah.
yes, and then don't forget to also listen to our mini episode that we talked about at the beginning on the Xbox Series X gameplay reveal.
If you want to hear us be disappointed about what we got from Xbox, please watch it.
That is true. So, as always, too, make sure you like, subscribe, tell Connor he's beautiful, and all those other fun things you do. If you have any other questions, feel free to comment that on our YouTube or tweet at us or anything like that, so then we can make sure we can hit the things that you want to hear as well to all of our 4 listeners. And hopefully now we have some better audio quality. We'll maybe go up to 5 or 6.
Oh yeah. Oof.
But
A man can dream, right?
tune in next week, though, so then I can tell the boys to listen to another Sonic video. Bye-bye!